So I got these two keyboards to build for the keyboard treehouse, and I have these switches to review for drop like ASAP. So yeah, it's perfect. You don't often get the chance to be able to compare switches in the exact same keyboard. And these switches would go right up against the Holy Pandas, which are some of the most desirable tactile switches out there. How cool these cases, by the way, comes with the boards, nice hard shells, Canon keys branded zippers, and just super practical. Everything is fully protected, and you get a carry case. So I have two. The navy blue one is just a one-off sort of color, but the green is the special keyboard treehouse edition. And let's take them apart. Here's the bottom aluminium piece. Finish on the inside is flawless. We have some alignment holes on the outside, with the two center holes being for the brass weight. The top piece is much the same, but with the protrusions that match the alignment holes on the bottom piece. The plate is made from 1.5mm brass, and again the finish is flawless on the top and bottom surfaces. But on the outside edge there's some dark spots, and one of the corners was a little off, but none of that really matters. And finally, the 3mm brass weight, which comes in at 259 grams. Nice simple rectangle, and I guess they had to be exterior screws because of how thin it is. So the switches I need to review are these Everglide Dark Jade black switches from Drop, which have also been called MOYU switches, I believe, and they pretty much go up against the Holy Pandas, being a super tactile MX style switch. Specs wise, quite similar, 67 gram bottom out, so medium sort of weight. The travel is a tiny bit shorter though, as it has a longer stem pole. I've been told they have a POM stem and PBT housing, supposedly. One really cool addition is that they're 5-pin, with the 2 extra plastic prongs which friction fit into the PCB, so you can do plateless or half plate builds now. And the stem legs are lightly lubed, but it looks to be pretty thin, and they start at about $1 each, so even the price is just about the same. Let's just do a dry build for now without lubing the switches, so I'm not going to solder these in, and then I'll record the sound. Here's the small PCB. It supports 5-pin MX style switches and 2-pin through-hole LEDs, and there's a bunch of tiny SMD LEDs all around the edge. So this is a top mount board, meaning that the plate screws to the top aluminium piece, and the PCB is held in by the switches. Super quick listen, but we'll come back to this later. Alright, this time I'll actually solder it, and I lubed all the switches with Cristo MCG 111 and oiled the springs. As said, the legs were already lubed, but for the most part, so I'd say 90%, 95% of them, the lube was fine and confined to just the legs. But some there was too much and it spread, but I felt that it didn't make a huge difference in feel as it was pretty thin. I didn't show it before, but the stab cutouts are super tight for these C3 screw-ins. Like, without shaving anything off the stabs or the plate, you really gotta force it down hard. And here they are, super cute. I love how they look. So this is the V2 of the TMO by Thunderburger and Keys, and being the middle one, it's a 50% board. Physically, it's actually longer than a 60% because we do have these macro keys on the left, but shorter in height as we don't have the number row. But yeah, 50%, so that's relative to a traditional full-size 100%. Percentages, by the way, aren't exact or anything. It's kind of tough to understand at first. There's no like real solid standards, and they're derived from other percentages. But anyway, I already struggle with using a 60% without my dedicated arrow keys and even the function row at times. So as you can imagine, losing the number row is just so tough for me. But this is QMK and VIA compatible, by the way, so fully customizable, which is a necessity with these sort of boards. I use numbers a bunch along with my mouse as well, so I don't have both hands on the board simultaneously when doing that sort of work. And to access these other functions, you kinda need to do that. And that's the beauty of it. Everything is within reach via layers, so there's minimal hand movement. And if you can get away with that, then that is actually amazing. But I can't really do this justice as it does require time that I don't have to get used to it and figure out what's best for me. And that's what's so cool about Custom X. You have the freedom to get something that suits you and your needs. And while it doesn't suit me, I know a bunch of people that daily this, so clearly it's usable. The board itself is stunningly crafted. Fit and finish is close to perfect, just a little rough on the edges on the plate, again, doesn't matter. Both come in at just over 1.2 kilograms. That's about the weight of a classic retail full-size board with a steel plate, so it packs a punch at this tiny size. It doesn't stray too far from the original design with this pronounced chamfer at the front, which gives it its signature look. It has a 7-degree typing angle and a very clean side profile. The brass weight is a nice premium touch and again just nice and simple. And I really like the TMO logo. It's kind of soft and playful, not too serious, and just feels right to me. Alright, let's get back to the switches. There's a couple of versions of the Holy Pandas. Unfortunately, I don't have complete stock ones. The ones I put in the blue board have been used, have OG panda housings, and I think have different springs, and are lightly lubed with Cristo MCG 111. And I also have some from Drops Batch that were factory lubed before. First off, all of them super tactile for a Namex style switch. The bump is right at the top, very pronounced and nicely rounded, and therefore give a very similar experience and sensation. Based purely on what I have, which is a small sample size, the Dark Jades feel cleaner with less scratch and therefore the tactile bump feels a little sharper. They're very close though. Maybe it's that longer pole and shorter travel on the Everglides that give it that impression. There's not much empty space after the bump where you do feel a bit of scratch on the HPs, but cleaner and sharper would be my main takeaway words. And lubing just dials everything back a touch and does remove that little bit of ping from the springs. Let's listen to the boards. very loud switches. It sounds like the stock Dark Jades are the loudest, again very clean. Not a great comparison though, my apologies. The Lube Dark Jades feel and sound amazing though, but I think I went a little heavier with the Lube than what's on the HPs. So to me, they're very similar in feel. With what I have, the Dark Jades feel cleaner and sharper in the bump, and I do prefer them. Newer batches of HPs from Drop may feel different to what I have, I don't know. It may be all quite negligible, but at the end of the day, they both feel amazing. Peak tactile performance, and it is a really good clone in my opinion, and has the added advantage of being a 5-pin, although it doesn't have SMD LED support. As for the wad itself, being quite small, there's not much room for any flex, so it's pretty solid. Therefore, the bottom out is solid as well, being a little hard, but for these kind of switches, I actually like that. And that's the TMO V2. We've been able to secure 10 of these special edition green colored ones on the keyboardtreehouse.com, and this color wasn't part of the original run. I'm not getting anything from this by the way, so don't worry. But just for those who may be interested, use code TAKEKEYBOARDS in the link below. But warning, this is a custom keyboard, so it is pretty pricey.